Welcome back to the Whisky Couch with me, Gustav Miller, as your host. Today's whisky is the third in a short series of Indian single malt whiskies that I'm reviewing. Today's whisky, the Paul John Bold. Paul John Indian single malt bold expression. So we've covered the brilliance and the edited, and today we get to the bold. This whiskey was distilled at the John Distillery, founded in 1992. So a fairly young distillery, but surprisingly good whiskies that's coming our way from that distillery. It is owned by Paul P. John, and it is situated in Goa on the west coast of India. Now, the climate there is much warmer than Scotland, which means that the maturation process is much faster because the interaction between the spirit and the oak wood in which it is matured is much more aggressive. Just pour myself a glass of whiskey here. It is distilled from a very special strain of barley called the 6-row barley, which is grown in India on the foothills of the Himalaya mountains. This whiskey is bottled at 46% ABV alcohol, and you can see this beautiful golden color. In the recent Whisky Bible, Jim Murray gave this whiskey a 95.5 out of 100, which means that all three, these Paul John Brilliance, Edited and the Bold, scored above 94 out of 100, making all three of them solid liquid gold whiskies. There's a bit of information on the packaging that I'd like to read before I get started. Paul John Bold, honey, spice, and a bourbon licorice aroma leads to spiced oak-tinged honey flavor with peaty soot and copper. The smoked Mocha brings on the finish of a bold whiskey. Smoked coffee. It's going to be interesting, this one. I mentioned before that I've already tried this, so I'm excited to do the review today because I just know that this is my favorite out of the three expressions from Paul John, from the John Distillery. The honey is there immediately. The honey, the peat smoke, but it is not as intense as I would have expected. Apparently about 25 parts per million, which is a medium peated whiskey. So lightly smoked on the nose. The licorice is there. It reminds me of an Isla Bruichladdich whiskey. Phenolic salt. The saltiness is because it's a coastal distillery, so a bit of sea air influence. Vanilla. The grassiness that I got from the previous two expressions, the brilliance and the edited, is not as present in this one. Much more peat smoke on the palate, much more smoky flavors. So the nose is a little bit misleading because there's much more smoke on the palate. Honey, it's much more malty flavors from this whiskey, and a little bit of spicy oak spices coming through. Slightly dry. The coffee notes, the sweet coffee and smoky notes just intermingling. Is well integrated. It's a well balanced whiskey. I can just see that this can become one of my favorite peated whiskies. It is as if this whiskey grows on you. The finish is a little bit longer than the previous one that I did, that I reviewed. A little bit of a longer finish. The spices are there, the sweet fruit, the soft smoke, and the Mocha coffee continuing on the palate, just sort of lingering. Let's see what a bit of water will do to this whiskey. Cost-wise, a bit on the pricey side for a no-age statement whiskey. Same as the other two expressions, 700 South African Rand, around £40 in the UK. So a bit pricey, but very exciting. Indian single malt. More sweet fruit after a few drops of water. The slight peat smoke notes are still there. More rounded for me after a few drops of water. More honey, more sweet fruits with that slight hint of coffee in the background. Wonderful whiskey. If you want to pair this whiskey with a food snack, it's always a good idea to try dark chocolate with a peated whiskey or vanilla fudge. But I'm going to try to connect with the coffee notes in the flavor profile. So I got these malted puffs. Malted puffs, and there are 3 flavors in here. It says here that there is a cafe latte, cappuccino, and an espresso. So I'm going to try the dark one, which is the espresso. So it's got a bit of an espresso with dark chocolate and a malted puff inside. So as we did before, you take a sip of whiskey, coat your mouth, and then enjoy the pairing snack. And just before you swallow everything, you take another sip and mix a bit of whiskey in there. Espresso, malted puff. This works very well. I tried a dark chocolate with strawberry to connect with the chocolate and fruit. It didn't work that well. But I must say this coffee chocolate works extremely well. The malted puff on the inside with a little bit of honey flavor connects with the honey in here, and the coffee notes connect. And this is fantastic. It's the ideal after dinner whiskey with a pairing snack like that. Wonderful. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button, and see you again tomorrow, because lots more whiskey tasting, whiskey pairing, and whiskey reviews to come. Slàinte.